Something incredibly important that's over 100 years old is showing up right now on Cardano, Solana, and Link. And if you can understand this concept, then you'll understand exactly why I am loading up on these cryptos right now, and you need to be paying attention to what is happening. So hit the like button. Let's get into this video. Now guys, when you look into a crypto chart, what do you see? Is it completely random? Do you think that this is just making moves all the time and people don't actually make any money trading and it's all happening because of the news? Well, I've got some news for you. News is effectively there and it's used by big organizations to be able to manipulate you into making decisions. All that happens on a chart is big money makes money. They make money on the way up, they make money on the way down. And then what they need to make that money is people who are not so smart as them to being able to sell to them when it's cheap and buy from them when it's expensive. And how do we know this happens? And how do we know what this can look like? Well, we want to pay attention first of all to this guy who's called Richard Wyckoff, and he lived between 1873 and 1934. And you're like, what does this have to do with anything? Well, guys, charts have existed for a very long time. People have been trading candlestick charts for many, many years. And Richard Wyckoff worked on Wall Street back in the 1920s, and he identified that the big banks were doing something pretty scandalous with their investments. And he identified that at different areas of the market, there was a systematic pattern was just being followed every single time. Now, this is a distribution phase. This happens at the top of the market, okay? You can see this happening in the top of the Bitcoin bull market that we saw back a couple of years ago. But it's not this that we want to pay attention to, because as we know, we're at the bottom of the market right now. And if you want to see how perfectly this plays out, let's look at this particular tweet, which was shared by El Crypto Prof. And this is Bitcoin. And you can see that this was the distribution phase up here that happened all the way back in November of 2021. And then this is the accumulation phase that we've just come out of. And he anticipates that we are now here. And that's why we were able to call that this push up would happen very, very quickly, where we're currently sitting around $30,000. I do anticipate a further move due to what's happening here. But as we know, because of this diagram, that we always see Bitcoin pushing before flowing into things like Ethereum and then other large cap coins, of which the three that we're looking at in this video, Cardano, Solana, and Link, fit into that particular demographic. Now, at the same time, we have a distribution phase at the top. We have an accumulation phase at the bottom. And it's worth pointing out a few things that we see in here. So we get our big drops. We then have a few peaks that make people think it's just going to carry on to the upside. We get another drop. And then we get this, the spring. And there's something very important to pay attention to in the spring. Can you tell what it is? Well, guys, look at the bottom support. And look, it comes just below that bottom support. Now, we know, because we watch lots of videos on trading and whatever, that there are support and resistance lines. And many traders of crypto, or at least apparent traders of crypto who will make crypto videos, will tell you that when we dip below or we break a line of support or resistance, our mate Crypto Robo loves this, then it will carry on in that direction. And while that is occasionally true, actually, most of the time it's not. And if you understand what a distribution and accumulation blocks look like, you'll know that they go just below this level because that's where the biggest liquidity is sitting. And once we can see this happen, we have a good indication that we are likely to see a move in the opposite direction. And why is this exciting? Well, let's have a look at the charts and use this Wyckoff accumulation. Now, first of all, we'll start with Cardano. And I made this video just a couple of days ago about Cardano and what was happening in this accumulation zone. And if you were subscribed, you would have seen that. And you would also be able to have got in early, like we've seen in Cardano right now. And guys, you absolutely should be subscribed because no one else is really running through this type of content with you, okay? On a daily basis, I make videos 2 times a day, apart from at the weekends, like 1 time a day. But every day I'm showing you tutorials, I'm showing you stuff that is not really being talked about across YouTube, so you absolutely need to be subscribed. What we can see right now, and I've drawn this accumulation box, and you're going to be mind blown in a moment when I show you something. Now, what we have is very interesting here, guys. Now, obviously, like every chart pattern out there, we have kind of the standardized model that makes everything look very clean and very obvious, okay? Obviously, as a textbook drawing, what we got in the chart is slightly different, but we can see some interesting things play out, okay? So we have the first initial dip that you can see as the SC, and then we come up into this kind of area here. We have that first pump. Now, we can see that first pump for Cardano came up to around this area here. We then have a drop back down. We come up. And then we get into the spring. And what's really crucial, I just want to zoom in on this further, is what happens here. Now, why is this area so important. You can see that this was the drop of the support. Okay, we break the support and we come down here. Now, I want you to understand what will be happening in this area. Now, all the traders who've been going long on a position in kind of an area anywhere through here, they've been long, they're looking for buys, they'll have a stop loss. That means that if it breaks the stop loss, it changes their buy order into a sell order. And this will happen under here, okay? Because many people put their stop losses under a recent low, and this means that we drop back down, it takes the stop loss out, and then it goes the other way. And if you're like, well, I started day trading and I constantly get stopped out because I'm using the lows, previous lows, as my support and resistance, this is why it's happening, okay? So you kind of need a bit more of a buffer to be able to day trade these successfully, or at least wait for the next part of the accumulation zone. So we get this liquidity soak here, we then have a movement, and then in my opinion, we're going to continue out of this area. And what's beneficial for us here? Well, you could say that if it's going to break above this high, then I'll go in for a buy. By which point, okay, if you are long, you could already be up 60%. Now, that's not financial advice, okay? I'm just showing you how it is. At the bottom down here, you will feel much worse about buying than you will at the top. But if this is a coin you've done research in and you care about, then, you know, this is why it's worth getting in the bottom of these patterns rather than the top of these patterns, because it allows you to get in 59% cheaper. Now, if you think, oh, Cardano's not really the nicest looking accumulation zone, well, look at this, guys, on Chainlink. What do we see again? We have the spring. Let's use our Wyckoff again and line it up. You can see we had the plunge towards the downside. We then come back up into this zone and we come up a second time. And then you get a slightly lower high, like a failed break, which is this one here. We come back down, we get our spring. And then look again, we break below these lows here. And look what happens from breaking below those lows here. We then get this. So everyone is now panic selling. They're panic selling. And then what happens? We go from this panic sell. And now we're currently up 18% at 1.29% up. Now, would we guarantee ourselves to carry on up here? Absolutely not. Okay, this is not guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed. But there's a very good chance that Link is coming out of an accumulation zone on the weekly, and we could be seeing a nice bounce towards the upside. Now, before I show you something that's going to absolutely blow your mind as well, I'm going to look at Solana. Now, Solana as well, we can see, and guys, you're like, oh, Solana's crap, you know, Cardano is much better. I don't really care, guys, okay? These projects are going to do well. 99% of projects are going to do pretty well when we get towards the bull market. In my opinion, obviously, do your own research. And Cardano is slightly different. And I want to show you what really is slightly different. This was the FTX crash, okay? FTX had a load of money in Solana. And basically, when FTX went under, they had to dump all their Solana back onto the market. Everyone lost faith in Solana. Solana plummeted. It got absolutely punished towards the downside. And that's interesting. Because when you get massive sell-off events because of news like this, ultimately you'll bounce back towards an equilibrium. Okay? So yeah, this low here is lower than the spring that we're seeing here. But in my opinion, that's because actually if we didn't have that FTX drama affecting Solana quite so aggressively, then we would have just seen a sell-off like this. And then we would see our spring. So yeah, this is probably why it doesn't quite fit perfectly. But if you look into this in the accumulation phase and imagine that we kind of came down here without seeing this FTX sell-off, then actually you get this spring coming in here, which was in fact because of the SEC drama. And notice how aggressively Solana has recovered from that. And it's aggressively recovered, unlike other cryptos, because of this. Solana still remains heavily undervalued because of that FTX stuff, okay? That's why I'm so bullish on Solana right now. And you're like, well, why are these coins pumping right now? Well, as I've already told you, because the other market coins start to come off the back of Bitcoin being very bullish. Look at what's going on with Bitcoin. Bitcoin, since the start of the year, has been absolutely booming towards the upside, but we're starting to get this kind of like cool off into this area, okay? We're starting to have a little bit of a cool into potentially having a push a little bit lower down. And maybe we could see something like this happening, okay? How do I know this might be about to happen? Well, I want to look at the Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance is basically Bitcoin's portion of the crypto market as a whole. Bitcoin obviously is the biggest crypto, but we see Bitcoin moving first because the bigger money want to get into likes of Bitcoin. They want the guaranteed returns rather than going into the kind of smaller cap, more risky coins, okay? But what we can see is Bitcoin dominance has come out of its distribution. Yeah? Show you again. Look at this. This is our distribution. Let's make it green so it's nice and clear. And look at what we get here. Look at how perfect, guys. Every single time, not every single time, but how accurately this accumulation happens. Look at this. It dips just underneath the other areas. Let me show you. Look at the Wyckoff. And again, you can see this kind of lines up. We have our push towards the downside happening. And then, which happens through here, we have a push up. And then we get another kind of push up. We get this final push towards the upside like here. And then we cut back down. We get our spring and we push. Okay? Look at it. But notice, once we get up towards this level, we have a bit of indecision. And then we kind of continue to push. Now, that doesn't push forever in a straight line. What we can anticipate is a bit of a cool off at some point in the Bitcoin distribution. And then we're going to get a very small, in my opinion, altcoin season. Now, if we take from this previous swing high and we drop it back down to this swing high using the Fibonacci, we get the extension, which is the 1.618 golden ratio extension. And that comes in here. Okay, this is a very big resistance you're looking at on the Bitcoin dominance. Now, what I can see as well, this is clearly a double bottom, right? But we have a break. 1.618 will come back, in my opinion, to retest this area. So what's that going to look like for the rest of crypto? Well, we could see a bit of cooling off in Bitcoin right now and a bit of regain coming into the likes of Cardano, Chainlink, Solana, other big cap altcoins, Ethereum, right? Not guaranteed, but this is what I'm saying right now, and this is why I'm buying into those cryptocurrencies. I hope that all makes sense. If it does, then hit the like button, because obviously I've done a good job of telling you exactly how this works. And if you are holding these cryptocurrencies, or you want to be buying and holding these cryptocurrencies, then I recommend you get yourself a decent biometric wallet, guys. It takes a fingerprint to scan to get into this, ultra secure, and it's also Bluetooth, okay? So I can take it with my mobile phone anywhere I go, and all I need is this and my mobile, and then I can manage my wallet through that, okay? Ultra secure. This is from Korea, who are very advanced when it comes to technology. You can get a massive discount if you use that link down below in the description for your decent wallet. You can store over 2,000 different cryptocurrencies. Pretty much every crypto I talk about on this channel can be supported by this biometric wallet, guys. No brainer. You should be using this rather than keeping money on exchanges. Hope you enjoyed that video, guys. Smash the subscribe, and I will see you later on in another video. Bye-bye.